Bé, abans de començar a presentar el panell, que tenim un panell altament interessant i amb representants de diferents aspectes del sector del turisme de salut, deixeu-me fer-vos dos pinzellades del per què Andorra s'està apostant pel turisme de salut i de benestar. Aquí. Bé, si no, us ho explico sense presentació. No. Per què a Andorra estem compromesos? Primer, per les tendències mundials. Ho hem vist abans d'anar a dinar. No hi ha dades, malauradament, dades oficials, però sí que, per exemple, el The Global Wellness Institute ens dona alguna pista. Es calcula que entre l'any 2020 i 2025 l'economia del benestar, del turisme de benestar, creix gairebé un 10% de manera estable. I s'espera que el turisme que busca aquest tipus de producte arribi al 20,9%. Vèiem que les tendències eren realment d'un turisme creixent, una demanda creixent de temes de salut. Llavors, què passava? Andorra ja és un país, primer estem a les muntanyes, veiem muntanyes i ho relacionem amb salut. Un país que ja, què us he de dir, que ja rebem, l'any passat ja van ser 9 milions de turistes. Després, és un país amb la taxa de criminalitat més baixa del món, un país molt segur, un dels millors sistemes de salut del món, un país que ja tenim aigües termals i on la majoria del país està considerat espais naturals. I a més, el 5è país del món amb l'esperança de vida més alta. Amb tot això, com no anàvem a vendre el país com un destí de salut i de benestar? En aquell moment, no m'allargo perquè el panell de després ho explicaran en més detall, va sorgir una iniciativa público-privada d'analitzar què teníem en el país que podíem oferir als turistes que busquessin salut i benestar. I vam veure que teníem molt. Teníem molts professionals que es dedicaven a oferir aquesta salut, teníem molts disposats a oferir-ne més, teníem hotels preparats, teníem ja camins, teníem un turista que ve per buscar esport i què més saludable que l'esport, i per tant ens vam llançar a impulsar molt aquest sector, ens ho explicaran amb més calma. Així doncs, s'ha consolidat a Andorra tots uns serveis destinats i enfocats al turisme de salut, seguint els estàndards internacionals i alta qualitat, amb una col·laboració molt important, una col·laboració molt forta público-privada que ens permet avançar plegats cap a aquest destí i amb una involucració molt important del Ministeri de Turisme i d'Andorra Turisme. Tot això és només perquè us feu una idea del que ve ara. Ara parlarem d'altres destinacions, de projectes de país, de projectes de fora, i la taula següent us parlaran més sobre l'Andorra Health Destination. Havent dit això, ara m'agradaria que vingués el nostre proper ponent, que és el Carles, que és el director de màrqueting i comunicació de Mabrian. Ell ens donarà les dades de per què aquest sector és important. Gràcies, Carles. Albert, és endavant.
Gràcies, Judit, per la introducció. Bona tarda, buenas tardes. Good afternoon. I'll do it in English. I have two missions now. The first is keeping you awake, which is pretty challenging. And the second is setting the contextual framework on how the travel motivations are evolving during the last years and what's the role of wellness, tourism in this evolution. But first of all, for the few ones that don't know Mabrian yet, let me briefly introduce you what we do, what we are. Mabrian is a data intelligence company founded in 2013 in Spain, in a small island, Menorca, by the way, specialized in data analytics for the travel and tourism sector. Today we work in more than 40 countries in order to provide them information based in data analytics. This is based in technology, in AI, but especially in our knowledge regarding tourism. So we help destinations and companies to make better decisions based in data, in information, and also advisory. Right? We created the most comprehensive intelligence tool in order to track the full travel cycle, the complete travel cycle, right? Cross-analyzing more than 30 global sources, we can track all the stages of the travel journey, from the inspirational part, how they inspire to travel somewhere, how they buy, how they reserve, the demand and booking, the decision-making process would be the next step, how they experiment, what are their interests, their sentiments, how they spend, how they move during their stay, we can analyze as well, and finally, their feedback of the experience. So how they feel about that experience, which is exactly what's gonna feedback the next travelers. So from here, I will focus in the interest and perception part, which is the base on how we did a study regarding how the travel motivations are evolving globally and what's the role of wellness in all this. But first, let me point out or highlight what's a wellness traveler, right? According to the UN tourism definition, a wellness traveler is the one that engages in preventive, proactive lifestyle, enhancing activities such as fitness, healthy eating, relaxation, pampering, and healing treatments. And this is interesting because this is far from the conception of the wellness traveler, which is basically a person, a traveler, looking for relax only. This is much more. So in 2022, we did that global study about how the travel motivations are moving. We updated last week in order to include 23 data, so this is pretty fresh. It's seeing the light today, actually. And this is based in our social listening techniques. What we do is, using AI, we analyze the sentiment and interest of travelers through their spontaneous conversations in social networks. This is based in a sample of 384 million of tourist comments globally, right? So you can imagine how big is the sample and how relevant could be the results. And it's based on the traditional way of classifying the tourism products, right? The result is pretty interesting. We see a lot of changes, how the motivations are evolving. We will see more detail now. But if we focus on the wellness part, we'll see how this is just a little importance. It seems to be a little importance of that sector. It's slightly growing during the last 5 years from 2019, but it's barely 5% of the travel interest so far. And we know, more than think, that this is a wrong conception, right? Because wellness has a much wider entity that we normally use for measuring it, right? If we see the figures in a different way, we can compare the difference in between 19 to 23, and we will see clearly how wellness is growing, slightly growing, but especially nature and active tourism products are growing a lot. On the other hand, we have different other products, more conventional, let's say, products that are going down and losing importance, like culture, like sunbathing, like shopping, for example. So at this point, we decided to just break down into groups and create 2 different segments in order to better track how these motivations are evolving. So we created 2 groups, conventional motivations and experiential motivations, right? Conventional includes, you see there, art and culture, family activities, nightlife, sunbathing, and shopping. Meanwhile, the experiential activities includes wellness, nature activities, active and lifestyle traveling, and gastronomy, right? Which is, in our vision, much close to what represents actually wellness today, right? The evolution of this is even more clear than before. The experiential travelers the exploration travel motivations are growing by 8 percentage points during the last 4 years from 2019. And they have a consistent growth that is going to take over conventional motivations to travel by next year or 25, right? And this is an obvious trend based on the triggered basically by the pandemic. It's a cause of the pandemic. And we saw the inflection point in 2021, where we start recovering mobility again, start traveling again. And that inflection point is consistent, and the trend, as I mentioned, is going to stay for long. So experiential traveling and therefore wellness motivations are growing clearly and globally. What's going on in Europe? Going down to Europe data, we see exactly the same trend. We see how experiential traveling is growing about 8.2 percentage points comparing to 19, sorry. And again, the activities, the products, the tourism products that are growing the most are nature, active, and also wellness, right? So we have now a picture pretty clear, not based in assumptions, based in data on how all this is growing. But what are the drivers, the demand drivers on this segment, on what we call wellness or we call experiential traveling? To analyze that, we changed our source. In the first part of this study, we use social networks. In the second part, we use TripAdvisor, which is the largest travel and tourism online portal, especially for activities. And we analyzed 6.7 million of comments in TripAdvisor in order to know what are the main triggers, the main drivers of demand for this wellness or what we call experiential traveling. First, with some difference, is sports and growing. The sports and soft hiking would be the two of them that are growing the most. Soft hiking refers to that we were talking, I think Alice was mentioning this morning, the soft adventure is related to that. I mean, it's excursions, it's walking, hiking, not really demanding, right? It's the second most important, followed by water sports. And third, the spa and thermal baths, that would be what we consider traditionally wellness, right? Followed by gastronomic experience and other. So you see that there is a really large percentage of interest in those three, 4, 5 activities or drivers. But we can go even deep down to know what are the activities more demanded globally in terms of experiential traveling. So the top 10 experiential activities across the globe are these. And you will be probably surprised that it's not that complicated. I mean, what is people looking for when traveling for experiences, for wellness? The first is hiking and camping tours, 22% and growing almost 10% comparing to 2019. Then bike tours, you'll see, obviously it's consistent with the previous slide, a lot of soft adventure, a lot of sport, and some spas, some more product related to what is considered the traditional wellness. So, to end, I've shared a lot of information, maybe too much, data. I would like to close with 3 concepts that I think is worth it to highlight. The first is that the conventional tourist, the passive tourist, is evolving to a proactive traveler. So from contemplate to participate, right, in the experience. The second would be that we need to redefine what we consider wellness tourism, and we need to include much more and be more comprehensive in terms of what's the wellness and what's the experiential traveling. And third, outdoor and nature must be in the base of our tourism wellness products. It's as simple as that. And could be as simple as just walking, as you see in this data. I mean, we don't need to do really special and complex services or products. People is looking for soft adventure related to other type of service on wellness. This is it. I think this is a good baseline to start discussing with the rest of the panelists. Thank you.
No sé com hem d'anar. Sento al meu costat. Now I will introduce the panelists of this panel, and then they'll speak 10 minutes each of their projects, so we know them before we go into the discussion. First, I'd like to welcome David Astrier. He's currently the director of Iconic Andorra. Welcome, David.
¿Me sento?
I think you know this parroquia, eh?
Yes, I do.
Then we have Athina Babaku. She's the Director of Strategic Planning, Ministry of Tourism of Greece. Thank you, Athina. Last but not least, Emma Heffley, a Director of Marketing and PR at Shenot Group in Switzerland. Thanks, Emma. Now I'd like to ask David if you can tell us a bit about your project.
Okay.
Aquí és per davant i aquest darrere.
Well, my presentation was in English at the beginning, and I was told to speak in English, but as we are in Andorra la Vella, I think I can speak in Catalan. And afterwards, in the questions time, if you have questions, I will answer in English, okay? So here we are. This is Iconic, High Altitude Training Center. Perdó, he dit que parlaria en català i començo a parlar en anglès. Penso que el millor que es pot fer ara mateix és llençar el vídeo i després continuarem una breu explicació.
Impressive high-performance center located at 2,508 meters altitude, where the culture of sport and nature merge to offer the athlete a unique experience. A high-performance center with 81 rooms with capacity for 140 people. Highly equipped chill zone for mental and physical relaxation. Oxygen is essential for the increase of red blood cells and sports improvement. Necessary and vital oxygen that enters through the air we breathe in order to reach the muscle required during exercise. Overnight stays at altitude promote the increase of red blood cells in our cells and therefore improve the overall capabilities of sports practice. The use of altitude as a means to improve sports performance is a scientifically proven fact. Here you will reach the top. Nature's the big thing in Andorra, as 90% of this fantastic country is nature. Andorra has an average altitude of 1,996 meters, and 90% of its territory is forested. The 468 square kilometers that make up its territory are home to everything you need to make your stay a unique experience. Its standard of living, with excellent safety indexes, the ideal weather for hard workouts in spring and summer, as there are 300 days of sunshine a year. Its incredible environment and the facility to be able to disconnect in the middle of nature make Andorra an extraordinary place, simply unique. In Andorra, you will guarantee perfect training sessions. Andorra puts within your reach the lakes of glacial origin. Scattered throughout the geography of our principality, there are more than 80 lakes of various sizes. To discover them is to discover the beauty offered by the high mountain landscapes. Incredible facilities and an extremely sustainable construction with passive house essence following the most demanding standards of environmental respect. Or we're totally integrated in nature and within the Grand Valira ski resort. This is a country with amazing life value. Andorra has a quality of life that makes it the ideal place to live in. Its natural environment provides Andorra with excellent air quality 90% of the time, thanks to its location in the mountains. It's because of this and other factors that Andorra leads the world in life expectancy. Iconic will become the high-altitude performance center of reference.
Bé, per començar, això d'aquí no és veritat, 2025 no, perquè hi ha hagut una sèrie de dificultats en el projecte que faran que la data d'obertura prevista serà el 2027, no 2025 com diu aquí, sinó 2027. Bé, com s'ha dit al vídeo, Icònic és un projecte que és un complex que està situat a 2.508 metres i que el fan especial per la seva locació, 2.508 metres d'alçada. Qui pot anar a Icònic? Tot tipus d'atletes, ja siguin atletes professionals però també atletes amateurs. I després parlarem d'una altra línia de negoci que està treballant des d'Icònic que incumbeix al públic en general que hagi tingut lesions o que estigui en procés de recuperació. És un projecte de país, primer pel fet que va ser una concessió administrativa del govern d'Andorra el 2015 o el 2016, no recordo ben bé la data, i que posteriorment va ser declarat projecte d'interès nacional. Però no només per això, sinó que és un projecte de país perquè Icònic no tindrà les seves pròpies instal·lacions esportives, és a dir, no tindrà pista d'atletisme, no tindrà piscina olímpica, senzillament perquè ja n'hi ha a Andorra de piscines olímpiques, de piscines de 25 metres també, perquè hi ha una pista d'atletisme i aquí l'objectiu és que les 7 administracions es posin d'acord per poder utilitzar o compartir aquestes infraestructures esportives. A l'avantguàrdia, diguem que està a l'avantguàrdia perquè a part de la construcció del propi centre, que ja, com heu vist al vídeo, està amb criteris Passive House, a dins del que són els equipaments, des del punt de vista tant esportiu com mèdic, hi haurà una component tecnològica molt gran. I és per això que un dels nostres partners tecnològics és Andorra Telecom, que ens proveirà uns serveis de connectivitat i de telecomunicacions molt important. El món dels esports, el mercat dels esports, va moure el 2021 prop de 300.000 milions d'euros i s'espera que el 2025 mogui quasi 400.000 milions d'euros. Per tant, és un sector estratègic a tot el món, no solament a Andorra, i per tant és un sector que cal tenir en compte. Tots aquests ítems fan que ens trobem en un ecosistema molt potent i que, a més, sigui un pol d'atracció molt important de cara al futur. Això és una mica la foto d'Icònic, tal com està plantejat el projecte actualment. Es divideix en 2 parts, la part, diguéssim, de l'esquerra, que és l'edifici actual de Sud Ràdio. Sud Ràdio és un edifici que es va construir el 1964, és una emissora de ràdio que emitia a Andorra i també a França. Com a particularitat podem dir 2 coses. Primer, que la va visitar el general de Gaulle el 1967, va venir aquí dintre les instal·lacions de Sud Ràdio, i l'altra particularitat és que en el seu disseny es van inspirar d'un vaixell. De fet, la forma de la torre té reminiscències de la forma d'un vaixell. Allà, a l'antic edifici de Sud Ràdio, hi haurà l'àrea de restaurant i l'àrea del gimnàs a la planta, diguéssim, no sé si hi ha... No. Aquí sota hi haurà l'àrea del gimnàs i aquí dalt la part de restauració. La part aquesta del panoràmic, del rooftop, és un espai que està reservat per fer presentacions de producte o simplement reunions d'equips ciclistes o reunions d'equips de futbol, de rugby, etc. Després tenim allà darrere, però que ocupa tota la planta baixa també, la part d'entrenament i d'alt rendiment, i després totes aquestes línies, tots aquests xurros aquí marrons que veieu aquí són les habitacions que dèiem que s'han dissenyat amb criteris Passive House. Tot això fa que quan més temps passem aquí dintre, més fabriquem glòbuls vermells i per tant més performants podem ser amb l'esport. Hi ha més de 200 esportistes professionals que viuen a Andorra, molts dels quals són ciclistes, però també hi ha corredors de MotoGP, hi ha exfutbolistes, hi ha una mica de tot. I no és una coincidència. Primer perquè l'alçada es presta a que es pugui millorar els resultats a nivell de rendiment. Després perquè el fet de tenir tant esports d'estiu com d'hivern dona aquesta versatilitat perquè molts esportistes es vinguin a instal·lar aquí. Tenim 300 dies de sol a l'any. És una dada curiosa però que és molt notòria per tots aquests esportistes que necessiten bones condicions atmosfèriques i meteorològiques per entrenar. Després el que dèiem, infraestructura esportiva, és que tot el país és un playground. Tot el país, les carreteres del país són sovint objecte o lloc d'entrenament dels ciclistes, però també les muntanyes per a aquells corredors de muntanya, etc. El Vidó també ja ho ha dit, és un país que hi ha molta seguretat i molt bona qualitat de vida. I després que tenim una ubicació estratègica, no tenim aeroport, però tenim dos aeroports, tenim el de Toulouse i el de Barcelona, que estan a 2 hores i mitja de distància. Bé, els beneficis de l'entrenament amb alçada són diversos, que estan tots aquí explicats, no em vull anar de temps massa, que millora la capacitat aeròbica pel fet que quan estàs en alçada hi ha menys oxigen i per tant la sang s'esforça a transportar més oxigen, a fabricar més glòbuls vermells. Després, que és el segon punt, també el fet d'estar en alçada automàticament fa que s'estimuli el metabolisme dels greixos, té beneficis també pel sistema cardiovascular, millora molt tot el que són esports aeròbics, arribem a extreure una millor eficiència de l'oxigen que ens entra al cos. I el que voldria destacar també és que recentment hi ha uns estudis que han demostrat que l'entrenament amb hipòxia és amb poc oxigen i per tant a l'alçada estem amb poc oxigen, o tenim poc oxigen. Els entrenaments que es fan amb hipòxia tenen beneficis per un altre tipus d'activitat. I estic parlant per l'àrea mèdica. L'àrea mèdica, tant des del punt de vista de la prevenció de lesions com des del punt de vista posttraumàtic. I és que quan ens lesionem i fem recuperació, s'està investigant que la recuperació en alçada, i 2.508 metres es pot considerar bastant alçada, amb hipòxia, el cos el que fa és activar una proteïna que es diu HIF, i aquesta proteïna el que fa és engegar un procés de capilarització, i capilarització en tots els teixits, inclosos els músculs. I per tant, aquesta capilarització fa que tots els músculs vinguin més nutrients per la sang i que els processos de recuperació s'accelerin. I és per això que una de les línies que s'estan estudiant ara mateix per potenciar Iconic és aquesta, és la línia mèdica o mèdico-esportiva amb tot el tema de prevenció de lesions i el tema de recuperació posttraumàtica. Jo penso que després, durant les preguntes, podem aprofundir una mica més, però de moment em paro aquí.
Now we'll go from the very top of Andorra to the mesmerizing country of the Mediterranean, Greece. Athina Babakou, Director of Strategic Planning, Ministry of Tourism. Yeah, that's forward. Yeah.
So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Buenos dias. I would like to thank the organizers for the kind invitation. It's a great pleasure to be here with you. My presentation today will focus on health tourism in Greece, the challenges that we face and the perspectives for its development. So health tourism, according to the Greek legislation, comprises 3 forms: medical tourism, thermal tourism, and wellness tourism. According to Hippocrates of Kos, the father of modern medicine, well-being means health and living in connection with nature, in harmony with nature. And this wisdom, going back thousands of years, gives us the opportunity to create a purely Greek brand around wellness. As Hippocrates said 25 centuries ago, if you want to learn about the health of a population, look at the air they breathe, the water they drink, and the places where they live. And nowadays, Greece, taking advantage of its volcanic landscape, has dozens of thermal springs, and we have until now officially recognized 84 thermal springs. We have also licensed 35 thermal spa facilities and thalassotherapy centers and hundreds of hotels, both their sophisticated spa facilities. So as you can see, the majority of thermal springs are operated at municipal level, and another half are private-owned, operated by the private sector. And the majority of them are found on the Greek mainland, which makes us think that strategically, that since thermal tourism can promote and support product differentiation in Greece, can also decentralized tourism development from the well-known and popular Greek islands to the Greek mainland. Some examples, for instance, this is Loutraki, a spa town located near Athens, 1 hour away from Athens, and it's one of the most historic thermal baths of Greece. The Pousa baths in the northern part of Greece have become the most popular destination for spa goers. And yes, there has been a decades-long neglect in investments in thermal tourism, and because thermal tourism contributes to product differentiation, which is one of our strategic goals, we now prioritize the development of the sector by committing 28 million euros from the Recovery and Resilience Fund for this purpose. Besides thermal tourism, there has been a steady development of wellness tourism throughout the country. And we are talking mostly about hotel spas, including several hotel-based thalassotherapy centers. And following a first wave of internationally inspired treatments, such as therapeutic techniques, mostly of Asian origin, and growing number of hotel spas is now turning to Greek history and local products for creating offerings with a strong sense of place. Here are some examples of Greek-inspired spa treatments, and these treatments being offered mostly by hotel spas, both on the islands and the Greek mainland, are based on emblematic Greek products such as olive oil, honey, yogurt, and Greek herbs. Market research has shown that the average wellness guests are mostly women, middle-aged, of higher income, married, of higher education, and employed. And this is the key element of health tourism in Greece, medical tourism. This sector is being currently under development with a growing number of businesses and medical institutions directing their attention to this rapidly growing market. And we are now in the process of positioning Greece as a medical tourism destination, combining quality, affordability, accessibility, and availability of services. I would just like to stress the quality factor in our case, thanks to the highly skilled and excellently trained doctors that we have in our country. And among our priorities is the legislative framework review, ensuring the highest quality of services. The medical tourist visa is now in progress, a work in progress. And also we are activating a registry for medical tourism providers. We are also highly encouraging the private sector to form clusters and networks to promote medical tourism, and also to acquire international medical tourism certification. To sum up, I would just like to mention that the challenges, the key challenges for our ministry. First, we need to tackle the lack of reliable, comparable data for evidence-based policy making. Many speakers at this Congress have made these notes also so far. And we also need to identify and approach the most attractive source markets. Another challenge is to engage in product development that will bring the health sector in closer contact with the traditional players of the tourism industry. And from such cooperation, we expect that more sophisticated health tourism offerings and experiences will also involve other segments, will also be destined for the mass market, the luxury segment, not to focus only on health tourism. Of course, it's very important, and we need to make sure that health tourism will create tangible benefits for the local population, for the local societies, and that the present and future workers will acquire all the needed skill set to offer health tourism experiences of the highest quality. So what is our agenda? What is in the agenda that we are considering for the near future? Investments through our resilience and reform plan on health and tourism services to improve services and facilities. Also, the Greek incentives law helps a lot to that direction. Quantifiable research on source markets and, in general, data collection. And of course, we would really need to adopt best practices, and I believe also, I see this meeting as a great opportunity not only to network, but to also cooperate and learn from each other. And see all the potential avenues for cooperation. And I know that in this room there are representatives from countries with a rich know-how in health tourism, that we could really also make good use of this know-how in our country. So I would like to thank you for your attention.
Okay, now, Emma, it's your turn. She can give you, the green is forward, the red is backward.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I'm presenting in English. Like all British people, I'm terrible at languages, and I'm struggling with German at the moment, so Catalan might be a stretch too far for me. But yeah, this is what I'm going to talk to you about, linking health, wellness, and hospitality, which is what we're focused on at SESSIÓ. We were asked to present 7 slides. I've squeezed in 9, but 2 of them are pictures, so I hope that you'll forgive me. This is the first one. So this is SESSIÓ Palace Vegas. That's Vegas, not Vegas. When I told my friends that I was moving to Switzerland and working at a wellness retreat in Vegas, they were like, do people go to Vegas and do detox? Probably also to do with my terrible German pronunciation. Anyhow, this is Vegas. It's one of 5 properties that we have. It's our flagship, and we're very proud of it. You can see the small little building. It looks small, but only because of our massive medical spa. But it's a beautiful Belle Epoque building where we house some of our beautiful rooms where people stay. When people come to SESSIÓ, they stay for a minimum of 7 nights, and they complete a medically supervised detox. I didn't actually include many stats because I don't have my own stats like Carlos did, but I thought this was really interesting. Some of you are probably aware of this. There's a big piece of work that's done by the Global Wellness Institute every year, monitoring the wellness economy. And if you look at wellness tourism as a sector of that economy, it's projected to be worth 1.4 trillion by 2027, which is just phenomenal. That is a 16.6% growth year on year from where it's at in 2022. Wellness tourism as a sector of the wellness economy is actually only second to wellness real estate. And I think that's really interesting because it points to the trends that we're seeing where wellness is no longer considered to just be a spa treatment. It's very much a part of people's lives. And I think that's largely come from the responsibility people now see for their own health as a result of COVID. So in terms of what we do specifically at SESSIÓ, I think the first distinction that I should make is that we always refer to health wellness rather than health and wellness as separate things. I think it's really important that people understand the importance of their health and, look at it as a united thing. And I think what this graph really shows is this sense that I think people have become a bit afraid of aging. Aging now is synonymous with a decline in health, but we don't feel that it should be that way. There's obviously different types of aging. You can't impact your chronological age. So along the bottom, obviously, you can see the years we're getting older. But I think nobody would say, I want to live till I'm 120, because you think, I don't want to end up in a care home or, in a frail condition. So what we really focus on at SESSIÓ is extending this point at which you start to see a decline in your functional age and your biological age, so the age you are inside. Two of the key things that we're focusing on are resilience and adaptability. Obviously, we've made huge advancements as a human race in terms of technology, industrialization, but genetically, we can't keep up. Our genes don't evolve as quickly as our lifestyle has. So you can see here, obviously, that your life kind of isn't linear in terms of your health. You get different inputs that can be stressors, whether it's the environment, your work, your relationships. And really, you've got two options. You can either strengthen those boundaries, or you can create more adaptability. So that's really what we're trying to help our clients to do. So we're very much diagnostic focused. When guests come to us for the week, it starts off with medical consultations, nutritional consultations, and bioenergetic consultations. So the blend of Western medicine and traditional Chinese medicine is really important for us. So we go through this process of diagnosing the current state of health. In fact, most of our diagnostics are non-invasive. We can do blood tests, but just because we're medical, it doesn't mean that our tests are invasive. We're measuring things like heavy metal toxicity, skin collagen thickness, all of these different things that can contribute to you aging biologically faster. And then we can work with you to find out what is your vitality score and how can we help you to enhance it. So there's a big education piece here. One of our key aims is to help our guests to develop healthy habits. I think most people know what they should be doing to help enhance their health span, but maybe they need a bit of a reset. So really people come to SESSIÓ to get that sort of cellular reset. And I'll show you a little bit more about what our method involves. So the SESSIÓ method was actually first developed 50 years ago by our founder, Henri SESSIÓ, and he developed this protocol for helping to enhance vitality and wellness. And the core components of the method, which I'll show you, have actually stayed pretty similar over the years. What we've added now is more of the technology, the scientific research. There's so much science emerging in aging that we can add a lot of treatments to complement the method that we already had. So one of the first pillars, as I sort of touched on earlier, is personalization. So the first step is to really get to know the guest, to go through a series of tests and to really understand the individual, both emotionally and physically. The second picture here is referring to a molecular lab that we have, which is an approach to epigenetic testing. So here we can measure the mRNA of a guest, which is downstream from the DNA, so it's slightly different to the other types of genetic testing, in that you can see whether a gene is expressed or not. So whether or not you have a gene doesn't necessarily mean that you will go on to develop a disease. It's more about how your lifestyle is impacting the expression of those genes. So we have a panel of genes that we know will contribute to faster biological aging, faster functional decline, and we can see which of those genes are overexpressed. For example, ones linked to inflammation. They could be an indicator that you might be, on track to develop a disease, but 20 years ahead of, symptoms occurring. So it's really, really powerful diagnostics here. The second component is the SESSIÓ diet. So this is a calorie-restricted, fast-mimicking diet, and it consists of 850 calories a day. There's no salt, no dairy or animal protein. And it's not because we advocate for a vegan diet on an ongoing basis, but it triggers a specific metabolic effect within the body where you go from being in growth mode to being in repair mode. So this is where you start to renew your cells, to recycle dead cells, and really clear away the debris. As you can see, our chef does an amazing job. He's from Sicily. We've actually just released a cookbook, and you can find some of the recipes online, but he does an amazing job considering there's no salt, no sugar, you can't have any caffeine. Yeah, incredible what he does. Another really important pillar is hydrotherapy. So every day, as well as having this diet, our guests have a series of treatments. So a hydrotherapy bath, which is normally at around 38 to 40 degrees. That's followed by phyto mud wrapping, again, really warm, really encouraging you to sweat out the toxins, to get the circulation going, so it really complements the diet. It's almost like when you have a fever, your body's telling you, I don't want to be fed, and I need to sweat this out. It's very much the same process, so you're trying to get your body into this recovery and repair mode. And then afterwards, you go into the hydrojet, which some of the guests call the torture chamber, but you essentially get hosed off with water of varying temperatures. And then you have a daily massage where we use electro-stimulated cupping. This is all designed to stimulate the energy flow to the different meridians of the body. So there's very much a balance of traditional Chinese medicine and Western medicine. And then the final aspect is the Chinese medicine. So you will have a series of acupuncture, we will establish the energy flow and energy blockages to the different organs, and then your Chinese medicine or your energetic doctor will work with the masseuse so that they know which areas they need to stimulate the energy flow to. So that's kind of the core protocol, the SESSIÓ method, which forms the basis of all of our programs. But then, as you can see, we have a wealth of other different treatments that get added onto your program depending on what your needs are. So, for example, if you're really, really hyper-stressed and we want to get the body into relaxation mode, we can do neuroacoustic relaxation, which transforms your brain waves from beta into alpha. We have hypoxia, hyperoxia training, so not on such a sophisticated level as you, but we get guests to breathe intermittently low and high concentrations of oxygen. We also have an altitude chamber. We have photobiomodulation. If you don't know about this, it's a specific form of red light therapy. It's an incredible piece of equipment. We've got a whole body photobiomodulation machine, which essentially looks like a tanning bed, but your cells absorb this red light and it feeds your mitochondria, the energy powerhouses of your cells, so it's really re-energizing. We also have cryotherapy, which is at minus 110 degrees. I guess your guests will just be able to go outside in the snow. So that's the end of the SESSIÓ method, and just the final picture as promised. Thank you.
We all want to go to SESSIÓ. Okay, thank you so much. I feel really privileged to run this panel. We have a perfect combination of private sector projects, some really innovative and new and working process, but very much focused. Someone with a lot of experience in the sector, like SESSIÓ, it's a big name in the sector, a Ministry of Tourism, and someone specialized in data. So let's go ahead. I wanted to ask, because we're talking here today about health tourism, but SESSIÓ started, I think, the first clinic in 1970. That's a long time ago. I wanted to ask you, but then of course you can jump into it. Which trends have you seen? Of course not you, Emma, because you are too young to see it from 1970, but...
No, it's just the SESSIÓ method.
Okay.
I'm 60.
All right, okay. That's the best way to convince to go to SESSIÓ. But then, which trends have you seen in the sector? As per demand, what are the tourists demanding, but also supply? I guess things have changed a lot since SESSIÓ started.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're definitely seeing a big change in the sort of profile of guests. of course, we've always had our sort of our legacy client who tend to be maybe a bit older. Maybe actually they weren't old when they first started going to SESSIÓ, but they're a bit older, and probably much more heavily skewed towards women. Whereas now we're sitting at around 60% women, 40% men, and the age range goes from anything from sort of 20s, if they're fortunate to be able to come in their 20s, to 80, it's really broad. But I think more broadly in the wellness sector, it's a case of people being more intentional when they're having a wellness experience. Mm-hmm. Wellness doesn't mean necessarily a spa treatment anymore. And, I think I deal in my role with journalists, and it's quite hard to get them to come to experience SESSIÓ for a week because they're like, I can't take a week out of my schedule. But I think people now are recognizing the importance of investing in their self, in their health, and they're more willing to spend more time to do it. And obviously SESSIÓ is kind of at this very high level, but I think these sort of trends always start, don't they, where the kind of the funding and the money is, and I think the sort of tourism sector is sort of paving the way for governments to start making these changes in real estate, in the way that, places are built to offer more health opportunities.
And have you also seen a change in the supply? You have more competition, I guess, when you
absolutely.
Started.
Yeah, I mean,
so
everybody wants a piece of that pie, don't they? I think it's so broad. I think the challenge that we come across is that, with marketing, there's so many claims. And I think our model has always been built around wellness, whereas there are a lot of kind of existing players in the hospitality space that are now adding this spa wellness component. But it's very difficult to get staff, for example, doctors who understand hospitality and can really understand that the guests are going through quite an intense process and they need to feel cared for and looked after, in the same way that it's hard to find hospitality staff that understand the sort of medical aspect of what they're going through, and getting the two to work together and not treating wellness just as a revenue driver, I think can be challenging for other players.
Carlos, does it make sense to you, to the data men?
Yeah, referring to what Emma was, do you hear me?
Yes.
What Emma was referring, I think the change on that, the evolution on that demand, it's a switch on the mindset, a generational switch, I would say. If we recall our parents' generation, they don't really used to do any sport even, right? So the society is moving towards being more conscious and more preventive. So probably at the time that this type of services start, people that went there were for an illness, basically, to get better, right? They already have something to recover, but now people is doing that step forward in order to prevent and start having more healthy habits, a more balanced body and mind in order to have a longer and better life, probably.
Yeah, really interesting. I was also very interested, Athena, because for me Greece has everything. Has everything, the sea, the air, the food, the culture, and how a Ministry of Tourism has decided to go that way of the health tourism. Which was the main motivation? Because that hasn't been new. You've been working on that road for a while.
Yes, well, it's a strategic goal for us, product differentiation, so we have to prioritize specific products, and of course because also it's the resources are there, so we have to get the best out of them. You cannot neglect them from your tourism product portfolio, so you have to see what are your offerings, in this case towards health tourists, and do this kind of mapping and research. And then engage in product development, everything around this product, and then to market it aggressively, we might say, to specific target groups, to specific, to attractive source markets for Greece. So it's not, of course, only health tourism. There are other forms of tourism, but we believe that there is real perspective, and also that there are many parts of Greece, and we see there are resources for health tourism on the mainland, mainly, that are not, we have not taken full advantage of them. So there are things, many things to do.
So are you also seeing the trend that Emma was saying, that really there is more demand at younger age?
Yes,
are you seeing
there
that?
is more demand. This is the trend, a global trend as far as we know and read. And it was after the COVID-19, after the pandemic, that was really greater. So it was really obvious that well-being and wellness are motivation for tourists, for travelers, also not only in our daily life, but also during our trips. And there's also, from the supply perspective, what we see is that, well, I presented 3 forms, but there are not many boundaries among them. So from the perspective of supply, we see that there are interlinkages between these sectors. There are clinics and hospitals that offer also wellness spa facilities, and vice versa.
Thank you. David, very special project for Andorra. Let me say we are very happy that this is happening. We know it's going to be a flagship for Andorra, but also internationally. Okay, I would like, because I know this project, it's so special because the way it's been designed and the strategy behind. Can you tell us a bit what's your focus on the strategy? It's not only a high intensity for sport people or athletes. It's much more than that. Can you tell us?
Yeah, I think it's much more than that. And first of all, I would like to highlight what Carlos and Emma have said 5 minutes ago. It's how many people used to run marathons like 20, 25 years ago? How many people used to race in Ironman 25 years ago?
Not even jogging. I mean,
not even jogging, that's correct. And how many people run marathons and cycling races and Ironman right now? I mean, it's from the moment you hang on your race, 3 or 4 days later, it's booked. So there's a clear trend to practice more and more sports. That's point number 1. Andorra has all these, let's say, ecosystem to practice sport here. Winter sport, but also summer sport. Good mountain roads, that's why a lot of cyclists, pro cyclists are living here in Andorra. And then the climate, as I said before, we have 300 days of sunny days here in Andorra, although being a mountain country, and that makes a perfect place to train and to live in. But Iconic is not only a training center, a high-performance center. It is a high-performance center, and that's the line that we are following to attract more and more athletes to come here and prepare their races. But the other line we are trying to work on very hard is the medical line. When you are a sportsman or an athlete and you are injured, you're losing money. Yeah. And what you want is to come back to your real life as an athlete. So we have to, make this period the shortest as possible, so as the athlete can return to his normal life and earn his money as a professional sportsman. And in Iconic, we are working very hard to develop a method with a very, very high-level medical staff working in it to try to make this period of time where you're injured a lot shorter. And that's, still working on it, and I think in a few time we will be able to give a little bit more of information.
That's a good challenge to have.
It's a good challenge.
But yeah, really, really interesting. I think you're also trying to cater not only for the athletes, but also maybe for...
Good point, yes. Not only pro sportsmen, pro athletes, but also amateur. Okay. Myself, I do Ironman or marathons, and like me, any other people. And yeah, well, after the COVID especially, people like training, people like performing in marathons. They want to decrease their times, and amateur athletes are also welcome in ICONIC because they also want to feel the way that the pro athletes are training, are living, and as an amateur training next or just next to a pro athlete is like a special moment for them.
Absolutely. What I've also seen, I was, maybe it was a month ago, and another panel more focused on sport tourism. And of course, that's, as you said, Carlos, that's also a growing trend. And we saw, maybe that's a bit out by that I have you here, we've also seen how, I mean, ICONIC can be an example, how supply and infrastructure is also adapting to this demand. No? Is that something that you're also seeing? So, for example, they were telling me, I didn't know, that there are hotels that they already have almost like the gym within the room. No? Are you seeing that also?
Yeah, what we are seeing in the sector is every time more and more we are on top of the preferences. So analyzing the trends, the data about what are the travelers looking for in order to adapt the offer. That's the key. I mean, we need to know what are the expectations, what are the needs, what are they looking for, if they are professionals, they are amateurs, in order to offer them an accurate service, right? So that's the trend that unfortunately we're seeing since we are in that business. And yeah, I mean, hyper-personalization, not only online. I mean, hyper-personalization is normally used in the online sector, but also in services. I've been in several places that they just ask you if you want to have some staff to do your own exercises at the room and specific space. So there is a lot of that happening now. And recalling the first part of the question you were asking, sports are the main driver for demand on the experiential traveling. And growing, it was about 9% growing, 25% of the interest of experiential activities is on sports. So it's a matter of data that this is a huge segment and growing. So it's pretty obvious that we all need to focus on that.
There's no brainer, yeah, that's true. I'll ask Emma, but I would like you to think about what are your biggest challenges? Sheno, biggest challenges?
I think sort of touching on what you said, it's this sense of kind of personalization, and you get to know these guests so well in 7 days, and for a model that's built on a sort of an on-site experience and an on-site service, how do you keep engaging with those people and ensuring that the things that you've taught them or the self-awareness that you've created continues after they leave? Like, we have clients that come, some clients come 4 times a year. The majority of people only come, once or twice a year. So what are they doing in those 6 months before their next visit that's impacting their epigenetics? And I think that's just a whole other kind of challenge, isn't it? Staying engaged with people while still providing that exceptional on-site experience. And I think it's definitely something we're looking to evolve over the coming years.
That's interesting. And you, David?
I totally agree with Emma. I mean, personalization is for me the key factor.
Okay.
There's no, I mean, all the athletes are different. And one athlete will need a special kind of nutrition. Another athlete will need another one. And time of recovery, for example. One cyclist has a very short period of recovery, whereas a rugby player, for example, needs more time to recover, okay? So personalization, I think, is a key factor to strengthen, these links between the service you are giving and the athletes that come to our center.
And what about for a country? What is the biggest demand from?
The challenges are many, but I would say firstly governance issues.
that, we have also a new legislative framework regarding the destination management and marketing organization, because all these, the creation of hubs and all this, it has to be at destination level and not at regional or local level, not only at national level. So how we all combine these priorities, it's a real challenge, and how it's going to work. Mm-hmm. So the legislative framework is quite new, and we are going to see within the next 2 to 3 years how it will work. Another challenge for me, speaking about legislation, is that we should not create hindrance to the private sector. Sometimes that we legislate and we try to find balance between different stakeholders and their interests, and we have to be ahead and not restrict their performances of the private sector. So this is a big challenge for the ministry side.
Yeah, in that respect, she's a minister in Greece, but if you could ask your policymakers or, you know, the public sector, also the private sector, your competitors, or what do you need from the place where you are at that can help you grow?
I think that's what you said is such a good example, and actually it's a challenge for us as well. We have a very multinational audience, and we also have a very multinational staff, and that's very common in hospitality. You get people from many different countries coming and working together, but when you're delivering something medical, particularly somewhere like Switzerland, where the regulation is so strict, you know, doctors have to be at a certain level of German in order to be able to practice in our canton of Lucerne. They have to have a certain specialism, and when you're dealing with preventative medicine, you know, that's not always the case. They won't always be, you know, a brain surgeon or an oncologist or something. So that makes it difficult for us. As you said, there's amazing talent in Greece, but for us it's hard to get Greek doctors that are willing to learn German and come to Switzerland to practice.
Yeah, that's a good challenge. You, David, what do you think that policymakers can do? If there's anything, maybe, you know, sometimes it's like leave us alone.
Well, I must say they've done quite a lot so far. Yeah, as I was saying in my presentation, this is a country project, so it comes from an agreement, a license that was given to us. So this is a big step that they did, the government. But one thing, and I agree with Emma again, is if we want to attract medical services, we need a very strong and very good professionals. And these professionals have to find all the facilities to come here and to work here and give the best services possible.
I can see that's a keystone of the sector. Do you see any, from what you've been researching?
In our case, it's obviously more related to data, right?
Yeah.
And all that regulations that obviously are needed about privacy and all that. But I always say that I hear really often in a lot of conferences the need of collaboration in between private and public sector, which is true. But what I see in my daily work is there is a lack of collaboration between public and public sector. So they don't collaborate to each other. They don't share information, even in the same country, even in the same region. And that's actually a lack of resources that they can generate a synergy in order to have more information and make better decisions. That would be what I would ask to the public institutions to do.
Very interesting, that point. I hadn't thought about it, but it's true. It's true, it can be. There is a topic that now we are talking a lot in the tourism sector. It's the sustainability. How, of course, tourism has to be sustainable. How too many people doesn't make the destination sustainable, but too little, etc. How do you see this sector? Would you see any relationship with sustainability? That's a hard question, I know, and maybe we can talk for half an hour more about this topic.
Well, I do.
Or is for you, I can say, is for you an important matter?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely, and I do find that there is a match between this type of tourism and sustainability. If we talk about sustainability, we can talk about economic sustainability, social sustainability, and environmental sustainability. In our project, Iconic, the first point, economical sustainability, I have to say that our country has lived very long from trade and tourism. And now all the way is balancing towards tourism and not trade anymore. And really this tourism, we have to focus on reducing the footprint, the carbon footprint. And the sports tourism is a very low carbon footprint in this point of view. From the economical point of view, I think we are giving an added value to this kind of tourism. And from the social point of view, I would like to say that we are already a country very related to sports and nature. So it's going to be easy for us to communicate to the world that Iconic is waiting for athletes to come here and train here or recover here in Andorra and in Iconic particularly. And from the environmental point of view, the video said it all. 90% of our territory is covered by trees or nature, so we have the perfect playground to do it.
Absolutely. For you, Athena, is that important?
It's of course the same. Sustainable tourism development is our strategic goal. Yes, we, as I said before, the new governance framework with destination marketing and management organizations, we expect that it's going to help us and support to this direction. It also enables synergies between the public and the private sector in terms of promotion, but not only promotion, also management. And yes, everything that we do towards the direction of diversification of our tourism product portfolio, we do believe that will help us also to achieve sustainable tourism development, to have more destinations that will promote themselves as tourist destinations in our country, and have tourists there as well.
Thanks. For Sheno, is that sustainable or is not?
I mean, with any kind of spa concept, it's so hard to be truly sustainable, isn't it? If you think about the amount of towels and sheets that we go through with these treatments that people are having, they're spending 6 hours a day in the spa. But, you know, we do what we can. I think we're looking at now creating a system where we use the lake water for our cooling system. We also use the lake water as our water source, so purifying our own water. And there's many resorts, like Six Senses are probably the leader in this sort of space. So just reducing the environmental impact that we're currently having. But then very much for all of our new projects, it's something that, you know, investors won't even work with you if you can't prove that you're going to build in a sustainable way. You know, thinking about things like you were saying, kind of the landscaping and the environment that you're in is super important. And just even for us, food waste, we're quite fortunate. Everybody follows the same diet, so we basically have no food waste, which is amazing.
Yeah.
You know, that's obviously a lot easier for us to achieve because we don't have animal products. Everything is plant-based, and the majority of people are eating the same diet. But yeah, things like these kind of in the hospitality sector are quite hard to achieve.
Yeah, again, it's a challenge for the sector because, as you said, it involves a lot of waste and towels and linen and all that. Carlos, is that something that the tourists are taking into account, or not yet?
Just to following with your previous question, I think wellness has a lot to do with tourism sustainability for destinations, and again, is data. I mean, this is not massive tourism, so it's not about quantitative, how many people visiting, it's qualitative visitors. It's not seasonal, so it's not causing seasonality, one of the big problems, for example, in the Mediterranean destinations. And in average, and this is data again, they spend above the average by far, right? During their stay. They stay longer, they spend more, and then the accommodation offer or the services, the supply chain offering that services is normally much more engaged with sustainability practices, as Emma was just now saying. So the concept itself of the wellness product in a broad concept can help a lot in terms of improving sustainability to a lot of destinations. And by the way, in the case of Greece, it has islands and the sea, even though we are in a mountain congress, I'm sorry about that, but I'm an island guy. And I think islands and the sea has a lot to do with also wellness, and there is a lot of possibilities. And for sure, Greece has a great option there.
Well, sometimes we say Andorra is like an island, no? Somehow there are some comparisons that we can make there.
Don't tell that to a Menorquin. I'm sorry.
Well, I'll put it in another way then. Okay, I don't know whether there's anything else that you would like to add. The time of the panel, it's
There was just
about
one
to finish.
interesting stat that actually I forgot to mention, which was also from the Global Wellness Institute, that international wellness tourists spend 41% more than standard international tourists. So I think that just sort of sums up how important wellness is now as an aspect of tourism.
Absolutely.
So more wealth and less impact.
Less impact.
And also, which is also interesting, when thinking about wellness tourism related to sports, activities, outdoor activities, nature, the most of the time are local, small companies, small and medium-sized companies providing all that services. So that helps that the wealth, the incomes of tourism penetrate more in the local economy as well. Yeah, so that's another important point.
That's a very good point also. Yeah.
On my side, I would like to say, well, it was Mrs. Bayon, I think, in the morning that said, I would like also to stress that education and in combination with sustainability, I don't believe that all of us, we are talking about sustainable tourism development, and we want to get informed and before we choose a destination. But then when we go, we are not behaving in such a sustainable way. So education also will be very helpful.
Yeah, great. So we'll keep working to make health tourism still more reality. Yeah, thanks. I don't know whether anyone in the audience would like to ask anything. ¿Alguna pregunta? We've convinced them, so thank you so much. It's been really, really enriching, and we'll keep working for it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.